Welcome to Sonar Feed, episode 272. VAR, VAR, VAR. Woo!
Somehow your camera's all blurry. Like, that was so cool. He actually, there we go. You jacked up Mickey's camera.
It's back.
Those people over there with the cool dog, they're like, what the hell just happened?
I'm what the hell just happened.
I'm actually super concerned.
It's good.
Carrie, we'll take care of that. That's on the list. We have an assignment. We'll get to it. Don't worry. So, what's up?
What up, boys?
Welcome
Ladies.
to episode. This is a lot. It's so many episodes, by the way. 272.
272. Crazy, man.
And if you say VAR, I am disowning you. I'm just going to get that out there right now. Anyway, so episode 272, VAR, VAR, VAR. We are here at the Berliner Pub in downtown Renton.
Ahead of the curve.
Cool. Third in May. No. Anyway, so David Clark not here tonight. He is down killing it with the Defiance. And
Yes.
quick Defiance update. Mickey Turner, what happened?
Our young phenom, Danny Leva, is in the book with the yellow card for a foot to the gut, but well-deserved.
I mean, that sounds super worth it, though.
But it sounds like we have a pretty decent lineup that maybe a gold, not gold, sorry.
Open Cup?
Open Cup.
Dude, seriously, this is like, I joked about it on Twitter earlier. I was like, this is payback for the Open Cup lineup. It's like, oh, who can we play? Oh, Will Bruin is available?
Yeah.
We will get Will Bruin some minutes tonight.
Oh, Roman Torres?
Is your mic still off? I've been told your mic is. Yeah.
I hope
You
mine
guys keep
is.
talking, or Ugo keep talking.
No, yeah, that is a ridiculous lineup. It's exciting to see that lineup this early. And I'm down to see that lineup for U.S. Open Cup in the early first two rounds.
I'll do that. And it's good to see them getting minutes. Smetzer talked about that during practice. It is on. It says it's on. Smetzer talked about that during practice last week, that he's going to get these guys some minutes at the Defiance game.
And he followed through.
Yeah, let's switch them. Okay. If you would, yes.
The switch is happening.
Or is that going to make a difference?
Either way.
It will, I'm sure. I'm excited about this lineup, though. And I'm glad that you're keeping track of this game here, too. So, let's go. Apparently, Nuhu almost scored in the very, first 10 minutes. Very close. Shout out to our boy Dave out there doing his thing. Miss you, bud. But understand, you're doing bigger things. Let's go.
How's this?
You appear to be coming through,
How is this?
but we'll know soon.
Yeah.
Because it could be the cable. And
That's
then,
what I was scared about. I assume
nope,
that's-
it's worse.
Oh, it's
Boom!
excellent. Cool. All right, Hugo, you were on the.
Hey, what up, guys?
Just go and give us.
Yeah, let me tell you something.
Why don't you do introductions?
Yes. So, this is Hugo Garcia, a.k.a. at Me Be The Seattle on the Twitters and the Gram, formerly Snapchat. And to my side, on your right, my left, we have...
This is going to be a disaster. Mickey Turner, Turner ESQ on the Twitters.
Woo! And then behind the scenes, running the show, to my right, your left, we have...
I mean, my microphone works.
See, there we go.
Tom Biro, a.k.a. Bougie Hooli. There are too few engineers here. If you want to volunteer to be an engineer at SonarFeed,
Come on down.
I would
Come on down.
greatly appreciate it. Is your mic working now?
Sure.
Let's see if Mickey Turner is available on the show. We'll find out soon.
I do have a cigar here. I can go outside it.
Great.
Yeah, they're
awesome.
saying it works.
Cool.
Let's go.
Thanks, y'all. Anyway, so much for mic checks before the show when everything worked properly. Heaven forbid we had a normal day.
Right.
Anyway, so
We had a game this weekend.
we did have a game, but we're going to do other things. It's Megan's birthday.
Woo woo! Let's go.
Actual birthday, not April Fool's Day birthday either, like actual birthday.
Nice.
So
It's a brutal.
damn.
Sisterly love.
So
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Panchita.
Conchita.
Happy birthday to you.
Mickey's like, I don't sing.
Da, 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 da.
Under any
Y
circumstances.
muchos más. Yeah.
Look at you finding some. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We're supposed to ask you for some carrot cake.
Carrot cake. What's your favorite shot? Boom. Chocolate cake.
Yes was the answer from
We'll
the
do
audience.
that.
Okay.
Done.
I will tell you the same thing that we told Will Bruin when he rolled up at Fuel and was like, I'll drink anything. This is the wrong group for you to say that to. So anyway,
Yeah.
moving on. There was a game this weekend.
There sure was. In
How
another
many
country.
of you went to this game?
Yes. Present. I got to go. And it was exciting. And I had a blast.
It was
Took the train up, right?
I did take a train. Aside from the ECS bus, I highly recommend it. This is the best way to go, aside from the ECS bus.
Did you take the 540 home yesterday?
Yes, but apparently, for those that have not taken the train before, be careful because when you book your trips, they tend to offer options to take the bus back that I did not
Jeez.
know. So my return route was a bus. So I get there way early because supposedly I leave at 4, and I'm like, I wonder why everybody leaves at 5:45 and I'm leaving at 4. We get there like at 3, and sure enough, they're like, oh yeah, this is for the bus. And that was not going to fly well with Vanessa. So I got on the horn.
I was like, were you able to make a change?
Dude, it was intense. Apparently, I was not the only one. The ticket salesman was on a break. The guy holding the table down says they'll be back in 20 minutes, but there's 3 seats left, so you should be okay. But as I'm waiting, 3 other people come in with their significant others, and they're also wanting to switch. So then I get on the phone. I'm on the app. Vanessa's on the phone, and we're on hold for like a long time. And I'm like, hot tip, by the way. If you're decent in Spanish, call and do the Spanish option.
That's a fantastic-
Oh,
The wait was
that might just be a game changer. Right there. That's
the
a-
wait was next to nothing, and most of the time the attendant speaks pretty good English. So I got through, and luckily, I was switched to the train, and the lady behind me was giving me the dirtiest stink eye. Oh my gosh, she was so livid because they only had 3 seats left.
Oh,
I took 2. So she had to take the bus, and she was not happy, and she let us know it with her eyes. She didn't say anything, but man, if eyes could kill, I was definitely dead twice.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there were some good things that happened on the train, aside from the fact that it was the one that has like the observation
yes.
cars. So you get a pretty cool view. But
Before you get into that, just
no, Mickey, come on.
No, I just want to know
Said about trains.
Is this about
how
soccer?
much was the cost, if you don't mind me asking?
I got really lucky and landed a buy one get one free
Nice.
deal, which I tweeted out like 2.5 months ago. It was $125 for 2 tickets.
Tickets round trip?
Yeah.
Round trip.
Yeah,
Do it.
right. So highly recommended. We already booked our tickets for the Portland away. For the train. So yeah, they also have a business class, and that's only like $100 each. A little bit over $100, and that includes non-alcoholic drinks, but a little more room. Also, the leg room in the train is ridiculous. Oh
Yo,
my
it's pretty
god,
nuts.
It's like the great no
And
airline
honestly,
anywhere.
in any class.
Yeah,
it's
no,
good.
we drove coach and we were super comfy. Like you got like I'm a big dude and I was comfortable as fuck. It was so nice. to,
So what
like-
you're saying is you recommend the train.
Yes.
So
Yes.
important train note at 7:47, and I believe this train left at what 5:45, 5:30.
5:45 ish.
Yeah.
Yep.
At 7:47, we were alerted that all of the red wine on the train was gone. Followed up by 9:12 p.m. when all of the white wine on the train was gone. So,
Yeah.
needless to say, Amtrak may want to stock up a little. We did actually look into doing group rate, and
That
it was
would've been
super
fantastic.
complicated, though. Like what you needed to do and like how you had to set it up to like get the tickets. And it's not like when I lived in New Jersey, you could actually buy a car, like add a car. You basically had to just commit to X tickets or
Right.
whatever, and they would just literally pull up another train card, add it to the train, and you're like,
Badass.
this seems like a bad idea because you can drink here. And they were like, it's cool. Yeah. Amtrak, not quite as simple. So the good news is travel monkeys are all over this. There's actually pretty big demand for it.
So for next year, or
That let's just go with next year because we don't want Vancouver making any sort of postseason or anything. So let's just go for next season.
I'm down.
That sounds like a
It is a
fantastic way
thing
to
that I
go.
think a lot of people would like to do.
No
I
question.
think we'd probably need more than 30, 60 days notice. So it may just be something where we need to talk about it before we even know when the match is and just figure out like
hope
what
it's
that
not
deal
like the
is.
first game of the year. So
Oh yeah, right.
no time. to
Yeah.
do it.
But I mean, we know there is a game.
Yeah.
You know, and I think if we can figure the logistics out, it's probably worth doing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway,
Yo, I didn't see that. Did
So
you guys
that-
see that about Ziggy?
I had 3 people mention it. I
did
didn't
not-
see it.
I didn't see it at all.
That supposedly when they put the lineup on the screen that they had Ziggy Schmidt as the coach.
I missed that completely.
And I have to tell you, and this is not a criticism of Vancouver, it wouldn't shock me if that happened. Like that stuff happens all the time.
Yeah.
So
But the
Not
whole-
great.
But criticizing Vancouver, what was the deal with their whole like trying to make fun with cartoon characters? in
we've
the lineup?
moved on though because
we did?
they've done no, in a good way
Oh,
for
okay.
us. 2 things. One, as Beth pointed out to me, they're like, you made Kim Ki a Ninja Turtle.
That
Who
was
wouldn't
pretty dope.
want to be a
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle? So,
Yeah.
loss. And,
And then-
2, we were officially, any time from now on that anyone has guacamole, we're just calling it Chad
Chad
Marshall.
Marshall.
Like, I don't know if it was Carrie or like somebody. There you go. Chad Marshall is a snack. Someone declared that. And I have to tell you, if you're like a person related to Sounders and you're like out and you want to like live tweet your lunch and you have guacamole, like the next time I go to Chipotle, I am 100% CCing Chad Marshall in my tweets. And the new rule, if you have guacamole, just call it Chad Marshall. Like order it in a restaurant, see what happens. If enough
I can guess what's
people,
gonna happen.
they're going to look at you like you're crazy. But if enough people do it, and this is where inside jokes come in. Like tonight, if this worked here, by the time the 3rd person ordered guacamole at the Berliner, which by the way is not an option.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to ask. It just isn't.
I mean, just for the heck of it, I will.
So we're going with that. By the way, Carrie says 13 of 10 would train up to an away game.
Do you guys have a side of Chad Marshall on the menu, man?
Do you guys have Chad Marshall available?
No.
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 Got it.
Oh, sold.
Winner.
Yes, yes.
Chad Marshall is only available at happy
Happy
hour
hour.
here at the Berliner. So be on the lookout. Anywho, so there was this game thing. that
Yeah,
happened.
this game.
Sort of.
Ish. So why don't we start at the end? Hence the title of
VAR,
this
VAR,
episode.
VAR.
Which, by the way, that was the loudest I have heard ECS chant that song, those words. And it's happened a number of times. And usually there are 2,000 people in the stadium doing it. And we were like 400 or
No,
whatever.
it was
It
intense.
was really loud. Aside from the fact that that place is a tomb. And that there was one time that I heard their supporters at all.
Yeah.
The entire match.
Suck. Like,
So-
really, I was disappointed. I was like, wow.
So starting from there, talk about stressful moments.
Yeah.
Can we not do that? Like, two terrible things could have happened this weekend. One, I don't know if you caught the end of the Liverpool Tottenham game,
Yeah.
but if you don't like Tottenham, you should watch it because A, they shouldn't have even been in the game.
Is that the goal?
It
that
was
got
1-0.
slipped in?
Liverpool should have just been 1-0. And they let up a goal that just shouldn't have happened in the first place.
Yeah.
And then Tottenham was true to form and straight up Tottenhamed
They
and
Spursed
owned
it.
gold at the end of the game. And yeah, so
And that was my
if you're a
boy,
Liverpool
Hugo.
supporter,
Oh.
you had a good day.
Yeah.
Anywho, so it was apparently very loud.
Yeah,
Fun part.
no question.
In that moment, though, there's a lot of Cascadia matches that I've been lucky enough to get to go to. Every so often, you get that existential dread. That was that for me. Like,
Yeah.
right then, people are pointing at the spot. You're like,
Oh my god.
this is how
dude.
this game's going to go down.
Yeah, no. That was
Because
so
2
fucked up.
seconds earlier, if that, we just had this sick Stephen Fry moment.
Yeah.
You know, it's like moments before that. That happened. And then you couldn't really tell what had happened with Kim from the section we were in. Like, you can see it, but you're just far enough away that you're like, is it? I don't know. Like, you can never really tell.
Right.
Yeah. I was in the press box, and it's a little more central, but it's not all that much further away from ECS. But it looked, on first glance, like he completely got the ball.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're going to talk about what happened in the aftermath in a minute, but it looked like he got the ball, and the press box was just kind of confused at the call because it didn't look like a penalty.
Well, and
it
that's
just-
when we're like, if your gut says or instinct, especially if you're in the press box and you're focused a little bit differently, whereas like if you're in a section or supporting or
jumping and cheering,
wherever,
yeah.
you're doing other stuff, you're not actually watching every little moment.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
it.
no, it went by fast. Like I remember seeing, I was like, at first it didn't register that he called for a PK, so I was just hooting and hollering and hyped and yeah, and then I saw the point, and I was like, what?
Well,
But it happened so
yeah.
fast.
Yeah, and obviously in the seconds preceding that, Fry makes an incredible save.
Oh my god.
But it comes right down to the Whitecaps player and has a straight shot on goal that he does just a hero job to get over there to block it in the first place, and it was a fantastic play. And then obviously the ref points to the spot.
Yeah, and then it was mayhem after that, man. I just remember it seemed like he was talking forever on his microphone, holding his ear, trying to. So that's when I got a little bit of hope, and I was trying to go online to see if I could catch a replay, and sure enough, I saw a replay, and I was like, oh, hell no, that's not a PK, that's not a PK. And then I started hearing the chants, and I was like, let's go, let's go.
And obviously, the interesting thing about those types of plays is you could he could have fouled him, even getting the ball clearly if he would have cleaned him out.
Right.
Obviously, that's not what happened there. He got him a little bit on the follow through, but that's a difference between going through the guy to clear the ball
Exactly.
and clearing the ball and having some incidental contact. Yeah. Or just missing him completely, but trying to kick him in the first place,
Right.
like some people do in Orlando. But yeah, and obviously we had access to the replays right away, so we were just kind of looking at each other in the press box like that cannot be a penalty.
Right.
I mean, you're not allowed to cheer in the press box, obviously, but you could still react to the play in real time.
So you're probably that's overturned.
Yeah. That's what we thought in the press box, and everyone, even the Vancouver guys were just like, yeah, that's not gonna stand, and sure enough, it did.
But that was some of the loudest. Then the whole game, dude.
It was super loud.
Yeah, dude. I was hyped. I was like, man.
And like I'm extremely biased in this discussion, but that was really loud. And the cool part for me, like ECS me, is like I didn't know 150 people in the section. Like I have maybe never seen you before.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what you guys were talking about a little bit before, just offhand. But just that it looked like it was a new crowd going in for the game, which is obviously really cool.
Yes.
To get
And again,
people
that's a
who
good
haven't
number.
Experienced it.
We were joking when we were setting up. We're like, Wait, so you want all of us under the overhang? This seems like a poor decision if you understand sound and how sound works. But they didn't care, so it was cool. And it is what it is. I did want to call attention, I'm not going to pull it up on the screen, but to Brad Evans tweeting overnight or yesterday morning, 12:30 a.m., quote tweeted MLS's tweet or gif of the Stephen Fry save, and Brad's being Brad, and he's like, honestly, Stephen Fry is right-handed, not that impressive. Continue. And if you have not already favorited, quote tweeted, retweeted, I don't know, reported that tweet as a burn,
flag,
whatever, you should, because it's amazing. And if someone doesn't hire Brad Evans to do their social media, they have failed at staffing. So that's the thing I want to call attention to. There are other amusing things, but a couple of things. And Mickey, I'd love to lean on your take on this, and Ugo, because you were going to be in two different places, or you were in two different places at the match, but it felt like there was a whole lot of Sounders, a couple little counter moments for Vancouver, and then a whole lot of parking the bus, like 10 players, and by 10 I mean all of the outfield players.
Yeah.
And then like a couple of decent counters. The subs came in for Vancouver.
Did well.
You saw the difference.
Adnan, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
A
like,
handful.
did that legit feel like they were basically just going, well, we haven't won anything, so maybe we should just not lose? Like, it felt like that was the strategy.
Yeah, so going back to last week at practice a little bit, obviously the Sounders are flying at that point, coming off a break, and Smetzer's messaging was basically like, we know they're going to be desperate, we know they're going to come out guns blazing, we're going to have to withstand, some pressure. So then you get to the game, and that doesn't happen at all,
right,
because Vancouver's got 10 men behind the ball. They're basically running like a 4-5-1 Montero out on an island up top, and then everybody else was just bunkering and
chilling.
And that's what it was like for the majority of the first half, I would say. Except, as you said, there were a couple of counters that Vancouver had. But obviously, and I guess we'll talk about this in a second, but the Sounders just had, obviously, a ton of trouble just, in the final third,
Right,
getting the final
that long
ball.
pass, yeah.
And they weren't really they didn't turn the ball over so much.
No.
It's just that, you take a shot, it deflects, and then it ricochets, and then they get the ball.
Or there were a lot of through passes that went too long.
Yeah, that was the main thing I saw, is they tried to send Morris through, 6 or 7 times.
Yep.
And Ladero's passing, always it was always out of bounds. I don't think Morris got on the end of any of the direct through balls where he's just
And the
gonna
one that he
run.
did was one that he outkicked himself too much
Yeah.
forward to. No, I agree, man. It was interesting. Looking back after what you just said, it really made a lot of sense of what Vancouver did in making sure they didn't get down early. They kind of went, let's withstand them, and then we come back, and it worked out pretty well for them because we couldn't connect.
Yeah. The first 15 minutes, I say, the Sounders were just clearly all over them.
Yep.
Rodriguez must have had like 60 touches
Yeah.
or something like that. Going down, dribbling, taking people on, trying to get in, and they were just running the triangle.
Yeah, so well. The passing in tight spaces was phenomenal.
Yeah, until they got into the final, 18, 20 yards or so, and just nothing was working.
Yep.
And they tried a little bit on the right side with Leardom and Morris, but that didn't really come off. In retrospect, they probably could have tried a little bit more in the middle and just tried to break them down that way. Obviously, that's a little difficult, and it's not what they've been doing. But, of course, Schmetzer talked about after the game having a plan B, and Fry talked about that too, and basically like when that stuff's not working, when they're kind of neutralizing those crosses from the end line, you've got to try something else. And, they didn't in that game really, and that's a lesson obviously they'll take in, which is a more palatable lesson when you at least get a result, a tie out of the game as opposed to...
I'll take a point on the road all day.
And that's the other thing is, you still got a point on the road. It's not, the end of the world. It obviously stinks to lose a perfect record, but
that's where I think it is. It's like not that we all went cocky or hot on this. It was you had an expectation because of what you've been seeing recently. But at the same time, like we say, only every single time there's a Cascadia match, doesn't matter the records for any team, you have no idea what you're going to get.
Yep.
And like teams step up for it, teams fall back for it, like all sorts of things happen.
Red cards,
never know.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Vancouver has obviously not been good, but they're not San Jose levels of bad.
Yeah.
They haven't been getting blown out really. They just had a couple of bad results for them, and they got a new team. They changed out 20 players, new coach, and so I think it's you can excuse the Sounders and maybe the fans. And even the Sounders for feeling like it was more or less a foregone conclusion. Once they got their first goal, things were just gonna, it was just, Vancouver was gonna fall apart.
Yeah.
And to their credit, they didn't.
And that's what I felt
chances.
like we'd get is there'd be a breaking point, whether it was a goal or just we cannot defend against this anymore. But you know what? They set their lineup up with intent, clearly, to make probably the subs that they ended up making. And then, we ended up with the result it is. And, John points out in the chat, feels like 2 drop points. Yeah, it does.
And I think that's the correct conclusion to draw. But it's not one of those things where you were up late and give up a goal and you just, kind of walking out of there like, what the hell just happened?
But think about how fine the line is, though, is that 3 years ago, there's a penalty.
Yep.
Well, last year that penalty goes through and you lose 1-0, and you're just aggravated at the situation because they're just in a terrible run of form and you just can't buy a result. That's exactly the kind of game they lose last year.
Yeah.
And they,
especially in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, the beginning of the season, that's exactly what would have happened. And so, getting a result this time around, especially coming off of 3 wins in a row. And it's on the road.
No.
I mean,
and frankly,
I'm not as upset as
me neither, man.
You would have expected coming into the game, thinking it was going to be like a 4-1 rout, and not seeing that happen.
Yeah, and especially since after the 70th minute, they pretty much controlled the pace, man. They had control the game, and I felt like I'll take that 1 point. It sucks because the first half I definitely wanted to get the 3 points and get a goal in, but. I don't know. It was all right. I think the boys withstood the barrage, and the call didn't go against us.
So to be fair to Vancouver, they had some really good chances. They probably had the better chances overall.
I agree.
Not for Fry, it probably would have been
for sure.
Nothing.
There were a couple of outlets or things in the Sounders' defensive half, especially in I would say the first half, that. They probably made the cocky pass and it got intercepted or just didn't go exactly where it could have gone. And you could see it ended up becoming ping pong for a second, whereas had the pass been landed the first time, it's, off to the races.
Dude, their center back was all over the place making plays. I don't know who it was, but
I can't remember.
I can't remember who, but he seemed to always get the last ditch tip of his boot block on a lot of the pass backs on those, man. I was like, man, this guy's annoying.
Yeah, a lot of crosses in the box. He sniffed out and cleared them away.
I don't know who that was, but he was damn good.
Donadell, maybe. I could be completely off on that. And then the other thing, obviously, is we talked about that just the passing from the Sounders wasn't as tight as it's been. If they could have gotten Morris through on a few of those, and not to say he would have been 1-on-none with the keeper, but at least he's driving at them with the defense backpedaling, and maybe he makes something happen. And all of those passes went out of bounds.
But you flag a thing that is relevant since the last regular season match, and this kind of thing had come up during the international break, was what Morris looks like on the international scene, playing for the national team versus Sounders, and how the world defends him versus stereotypical MLS defender X defends him is honestly different.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a point where smart coaches, smart defenders are watching that tape and going, oh, we're going to play him a little differently than we've been because dude came into the season with a different game. Like a game that we saw teasers of, like we talked about this last show, teasers of before he got hurt last season, and even the fall of the year before, like his game evolved a little bit. And now he's got new tricks. It's been a few weeks. There was an off week.
Scouting happens.
I'm not surprised that a Vancouver who steps up and literally says, we're going to go into this game. Not that they went in not to lose, but they went in to not let the Sounders win.
Yeah, they
and
came in
that
with
was
a
their focus.
game plan, and they were.
And it was less like shitty park the bus and more like we're going to pick a couple spots where we believe we can control something. So that's when you see, and it was observed in the chat, and I definitely saw this a couple times, that there was probably 6 back, 5 back, a bunch of times.
100%.
Like, but with intent, not like somebody tracking back, for whatever.
No, they had the block. Yeah, they had like, blocks of 4 and 5.
They were full on sending people back. And when you do that, you have an assignment, and it isn't like man marking. It's like, don't let X happen, whatever X is. Like, pick a thing, and that, like, a player was focused on that thing, and they executed that, to a T.
Yeah, what it reminds me of is last year when the Sounders were decimated by injuries, and they were playing, 5-4-1s against Toronto. They managed to get a win out of that game. Atlanta, when they were well outgunned. I think they had Dellum marking Almiron. Did a very good job, and, those were, it's not so much parking the bus. It's just you have a deliberate, as you said, game plan to account for the fact that you're not, you don't have the talent on the field at that time as the opposition. And the Sounders did it well several times last year, and that's what Vancouver did. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond because you've got RSL coming in, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, but they're in a terrible situation.
I was going to say who?
Multiple red cards. They lost their best defender to a red card for a headbutt. Maybe that gets overturned, but either way, it's another team that's going to be at a talent disadvantage, and so you could see them running out the same kind of formation and the same kind of tactics. So
good point. Yeah,
we'll see what happens. But Vancouver, they did their job well, so hats off to them.
You mentioned, I don't know if you said the word depth, but like you leaned in that direction. The difference between this season and previous seasons is not just about Jordan Morris. Like, let's talk about Tacoma tonight.
Yes.
0-0 at halftime, it looks like.
Who, it's not like you sent Lamar Nagel down to go play a match or two. All of these players that started tonight, except maybe Trey Muse.
Yeah, Leyva started too. So.
But I'm saying all of these players will see regular season minutes for Sounders, probably, if they haven't already. Like, that's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, Monday night game? Players didn't play on Saturday? It's like pitching, baseball. It's like, your off day?
Yeah.
Or that guy, got rained out on Wednesday? Bring him in as the closer on Friday, But, like, that is what we've literally all been complaining about for years. And this is with space on the roster.
Yeah, no, it's
If
exciting.
you
wanted it.
It's only like 23 or 24.
But, like, if you're Sacramento and you roll up today, you're like,
What?
thanks.
Yeah.
What?
Cool.
Someone did complain on Twitter that this kind of thing shouldn't be allowed.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Finish them. Like, that's like Mortal Kombat USL style.
Yeah.
Cool.
Their point was just that it's an unfair thing to do. If you're going to commit to a developmental philosophy, then you shouldn't be able to bring in a bunch of people. But them's the breaks, and the rules are what they are. So it's too bad.
Yeah, it's also, I will say, like, the flip of that, not that I want no one to want to come to the show or whatever, but, like, we found out about that so late
Yeah.
That, you know, Kyle Shields was joking. He's like, you guys should go old school SonarFeed and just go post up at the stadium. And to be honest, we probably could have done it.
Yes.
If we had some notice. But
Yeah,
when
right?
did that press release or whatever come out? Like 3?
Yeah, 3 o'clock.
You know, or something like that. I'm like, we don't have time to plan for this. Like, however. But Monday night, you want to wreck people? That's how you do it. And that's the stuff that, like, I do feel like has been missing. And maybe that's where either just the, you know, the way they've rejiggered ownership and so on. And, like, if that's part of the brand for the Defiance, like, cool.
Yeah, I mean, they got to win, right? Because nothing beats not having people at the stands, like, winning, man. You could have the best promos. You could have great deals, you know, $2 beers. You could give away beers and still do pretty good, but you'll never, ever replace having a fun team to watch and winning.
Yeah, that is, you know, obviously at the beginning of the season they were talking about that the Defiance would, you know, contend for a playoff spot, and they still might. But they might have gotten a little bit out over their skis, as Adrian likes to say, regarding their progress, because you are still starting a bunch of 17, 18, and 19-year-olds, as opposed to last year, which was like 15, 16, 17-year-olds. Right. And so, yeah, they've got an extra year of development and, you know, physical, you know, strength.
Right.
But you're still going up against 25 to 32-year-olds who are trying to put food on the table for their families and who are more experienced. And that is just something that they may not be something you can overcome, really, if your development model stays in the,
right,
you know, 18 to 22. Now, that said, there are teams that have done that. The Red Bulls, too, have been wrecking shop at the USL level for years. And so as the Sounders get more, you know, talented youth in there, that's what they hope will happen. But that's not
I don't feel like
something you can
anecdotally that's like mass turnover every year. Not that they don't flip players,
Right.
but I think they look at it long term, which is maybe where we are. And like we just had to have gotten to this point where Academy literally caught up with the S2, Defiance, etc. But the flip is, and this is where we've had multiple players over the years, frankly, play for S2 on the regular, whether they were a little older, kind of on the downturn-ish of their career, or younger and couldn't get minutes, and they were playing a match like this that they have right now. Mm-hmm. But if you're the kid on the Defiance tonight, and you're in the 18, and you see that lineup playing, again, they should win. Let's be clear. But if you get to see that, I do feel like just that one game, like being on the bench with that lineup out there, you've had the day or 2 days, like straight up direct, like they probably made that decision yesterday that this was happening.
Spencer said last week that this was likely to happen.
So, but you wouldn't necessarily know how deep it would go.
Right.
Because I think, again,
I think it's fair to say
3-0
like
Sounders
3 or
win,
4.
you might have gotten this. 0-3 Sounders loss, you maybe didn't get all these players. You probably got some of them. But I think like the scale of it to me is just, it's interesting enough that think about how many seasons we've had of S2 and now Defiance. We've had a couple of games where you're like, that's super unfair. That person should not be out on the field right now. And tonight we're like, that's super unfair. None of those players should be out there on the field tonight. Even like the kid, you're like, do you need to start? Probably not. It's Monday. Take a break. But that's super cool, you know, and that's the interesting thing. And I would say this is maybe what you have seen with like regionally close minor league AAA teams. Like you've seen that in baseball, you know, where they're an hour away, where like random person is playing for the Trenton Thunder tonight. And you're like,
what?
That's not fair.
Yeah.
Like A-Rod
Like
should not be on like a Wednesday. You know? Yeah, like, but that was the cool thing, frankly. Exactly. Injury rehab. Oh, I'm going to go play the last 10 days of my time on the, what are we calling it now? The injured list? We changed it, right?
Speaking of the Defiance, it appears that Henry Wingo has scored a goal.
Wingo.
Let's go.
John Worthington says that he thinks he scared the cats.
But yeah, just briefly on how they're going to do this going forward. It'd obviously be nice to see a few of these guys get some more minutes, especially if, knock on wood, if the starting lineup stays, healthy and, in form. It would be nice to see maybe 2 or 3 of these guys getting a Defiant start once a month, and interacting with some of the kids, because I think that's one of the things that
Guys, Ugo just reset his password in case you want to.
Working on it.
6969 Ugo. That's
Whoa,
disgusting.
you're awfully too close to this.
Anyway, tell me more. No, you were saying.
Yeah, about getting them a few more starts over the course of the season would be very good, and letting them interact with some of the young kids, and seeing what those the kids being able to see what they need to do to match the spatial awareness, physicalness, tactical awareness, and all that kind of stuff. And it would obviously help the Defiance because starting 11, 15 and 20-year-olds is, I'm not sure that's the best way to manage both the development aspect as well as getting some results on a fairly consistent basis. Because remember when Estrada came in last year, if they didn't have Estrada, they probably wouldn't have won a game last year.
Yeah.
He was their leading goal scorer by far, and with
Dude,
I don't even know
Estrada.
anybody who Estrada had like 11 or 12 goals, and who had more than 3 otherwise. I'm not sure.
Yeah, man. I love that
maybe,
guy, man.
Alec Diaz, kind of came on at the end, but just having someone who's maybe in their late 20s or even early 30s who needs some time, still start 8 or 9 of the kids, but sprinkle in 2 or 3 veterans.
Yeah, no, I
And
agree totally, dude.
It seems like you're getting the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
At that point, and giving yourself a better chance to win some games, which will certainly help the bottom line down there.
For sure.
And that's where,
Completely agree.
that's where I'd say, like, here, the
1,000%.
schedule works out. Like, the game being on a Monday, we can all complain about it. It's actually why probably we have the lineup we do.
100%.
If it were Thursday, we're maybe seeing a couple of these players, but not 10.
Not Will Bruin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And JJ points out in the chat, the best thing, some of these fringe Defiance players can do is get minutes up on the first team roster. And this is good for that kind of tier 2 or the top tier 2 players. So it totally makes sense. I think it's like, this is where I feel like we all felt like we should have been for multiple first halves for the last few years.
Decade.
But honestly, like, multiple first halves for the last few years. And to me, like, I looked at that S2 experiment as not like let's see what happens if we put a random team in Tukwila. It was like, oh no, we're stacking the deck here. We're going to make this easy to have, like, youth, talent growth program, etc.
Yeah.
And they were like, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold.
Well, it was hot and then downhill.
No, but I mean, you had a couple of moments of cool, and then it was like nothing.
Yeah, it fell off a cliff, and that's actually a story I want to write. I need to get in Garth's ear about that
For The Athletic.
or for other outlets. I'll talk about that later.
Oh.
So, but yeah, just kind of, I want to really get into kind of on the business side how they transition from what they were doing with then S2 in Tukwila. Remember, the first year their marketing was pretty good. They had a bunch of just really cool things that they were doing, but
Super fun.
yeah, yeah, there were some rules changes. There were more subs in USL. I think you could have 6 at one point or 5 or. Oh no, I don't think that's changed per se.
Yeah, I
They
don't
just
think it was
They had
that.
They had an older team. They had, Rossi was like 22 at the
It was-
time.
it was just-
Sam Garza was
Yeah.
like 24, 25. They just, again, that was the second year that they were really committed to the academy, so they didn't have
Having all kinds of
any,
issues.
they didn't have any real academy kids at that point to really bring into S2. So at that point, you were just going with a bunch of draft picks from the MLS
Yeah.
draft, and then taking a flyer on a couple of 23, 24-year-olds. And then so I think the next year, that would have been 2016, is when they really changed their focus to get some youth in there. But they didn't have any at that point just because, can't play 9-year-olds.
Right.
You got to wait for them to turn,
Yeah.
15, 16, 17
True.
before you get them out there. And then along with that, you obviously had they started to make rumblings that they were going to move to the Tacoma, and it was just difficult for them to really generate any interest in Tukwila, especially with the first team so close. And just the facility, obviously, Starfire is, it's fun for a USL or a US Open Cup game, getting 4,000 people crammed in there.
Yeah.
But getting people there on a cold Thursday night, it just wasn't something that was reasonably going to happen.
Right.
All that often, at least to the amount that would have made business sense.
Sustainable, right.
So again, that's kind of a story I'd like to write and just kind of get, the Sounders' perspective. And, it obviously has caused heartburn for fans as well, the move. And so it'd be interesting to get it from that angle as well. But anyway, that is just kind of something I'd like to, explore.
It sounds really, really interesting, dude. Honestly.
It was a drastic change that they made, kind of halfway through, because they were going to build some kind of complex down there. I can't remember. And ECS is obviously intimately aware of that.
I mean, do you want to talk about this?
Maybe
There was going to be a large physical building
yes, yeah.
with a stand attached to it, and it was going to be a pretty big difference from what it currently is at Starfire. And again, no harm, no foul. Ultimately, we all moved on, and Adrian's like, nope, we're not doing this. We'll figure it out. I am genuinely curious, though, as to see where this is going to go from here.
Right, me too.
Are we going to step into this quickly? Is this going to take another 3 years? We sort of hear rumblings now. If you talk to, this.
There are some rumblings.
I definitely have heard a couple of comments that they're super specific. They're not offhand things. People are like, no, we have a strategy. And I'm like, oh.
I would certainly
What?
keep an eye out.
I haven't heard these rumblings. I'm out of the loop.
There are some big things coming down the pike. That's all I can say.
Wow.
Breaking news.
Breaking news, and that we
It's
cannot
not my
talk
news to
about
break,
it.
So, and I don't have the full story, so I wouldn't want to
Nice.
overstep.
Just make
my
it up.
bounds.
This is SonarFeed.
Yeah,
Come on.
yeah. Just make.
You're drinking like a Chardonnay.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Someone get this man another glass
We
of
can
Chardonnay,
tell.
please.
We'll just say that you're
Can we
on
get
that
him a
wine.
double glass of Chardonnay?
You're on that wine, and then it's cool.
Is a double glass of
Then I'm gonna
wine a
get
thing?
Very nasty call
mean,
from some front office
yeah.
people, I'm sure.
It is. Okay.
You would definitely even though there aren't 10 million people watching, you would definitely get a phone call because I have definitely gotten Slack private messages because someone here randomly talked about something that we didn't even talk about, and they were like, "Who did you tell about this thing?" And I'm like, "Nothing, no one."
I swear I didn't do anything.
Yeah, that happened. Anyway. I'm right? By the way, if Matt Oak comes back from Vegas super rich, I'm going to be so disappointed. Also, I didn't win the 50-50.
Damn, that was a lot.
And it was, did you see how much it was? It was a considerable amount of money, even if you convert to American dollars. What? It was, yes. And I thought about how many people I should tell which bar we were going to buy out for a week and just hang out. Because I had my laptop. I'm like, I'll just buy a new charger. It'll be cool. I'll just work from this bar for the week. Anyway, I didn't win. So, gambling, whatever.
It's fun. There's a question in the chat, and actually it kind of goes off what we were just talking about. Where's the U.S. Open Cup going to be played? Starfire, Tacoma, or Seattle? Last I asked
Starfire.
Office, they said that Tacoma was not ruled out by any stretch of the
Yes.
imagination.
Oh.
Not ruled out,
That doesn't mean it's...
which was different.
Yeah. My hunch is Tacoma as well. But
I think it's a huge miss.
if they do Tacoma...
Yeah. If it's because of scheduling or because of some other thing, I get it. I think it's a huge miss.
Concur.
I think on a weeknight, the amount of people that will not go
To Tacoma
is massive. Like, if this was Seahawks or like a fan base that has a different physical distribution, and that's not to like discredit people who live in Olympia or Tacoma or Kent or wherever, I would feel differently.
I concur.
Like,
sir, you're a gentleman and a scholar. Thank you very much.
Sounders have a specific level of success with downtown Seattle because they market there, and that is where people live, work, and do other things. Again, if U.S. Open Cup was played Saturday at 4 p.m. in Tacoma, non-issue.
Yeah. That's a good point.
7 p.m. on a Wednesday,
Big issue.
huge issue.
Yeah.
Like, getting to S2 and now Defiance in previous seasons was like 4:45. You left downtown Seattle.
You got there at 5:30. Yeah.
If that. It's
There is
non-existent.
none. There
You can
is
get
none.
to Tacoma, you can't get to the
back.
stadium,
Yeah.
and you
yeah.
definitely aren't getting back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
What I would say on that is I agree with all of that, and the problem I think they would have with Tacoma as well is if it'd be one thing if it was like a semifinal or something like that, or a quarterfinal,
for sure,
where you're definitely getting first team players, and most of them. But for this first round, you're going to see a combination of what you're seeing tonight,
yeah,
as well as
minus all the
minus,
starters.
and you're going to have a couple of academy
and
guys
honestly,
in there as well.
3 years of failure in Open Cup. So like the age or the churn of supporters and fans is a data point that needs to be taken into account by what they do with Open Cup.
Yeah.
There are people that I know who couldn't drink and now they can the last time the Sounders made any dent in US Open Cup. Like, their habits are physically different.
Pre-red wedding.
I actually love the concept, like the visual and the experience of being in Cheney. I'm actually a huge fan of.
Yeah.
I think it would be amazing. I feel like it completely discounts the getting there and like some of the other bits and bytes that go into that part. And to be honest, don't you want to just stomp on somebody at Starfire? Like, even the first game. Just play the first game and just go
Can we get
wreck
a
somebody.
7-1?
I think that could happen too. I mean, there's again, this discussion I had was, it's April 1st, so it might have been right before the season started. So we're talking at least a month and a half ago, and so who knows what's changed in the meantime. And they could certainly start, go to Starfire for the first game, and assuming they advance and host, then and
Right.
you gotta, the baseball obviously is another thing. The Sounders aren't playing during that first Open Cup run, I don't think, because they're going to be on Gold Cup break. So that's not a problem. So actually, if they had a Saturday Open, they could have played it then. But obviously, most of the Open Cup games are played midweek.
That's a good question about parking. I don't know.
So I don't know. They like I said, that is a good question. I will ask them about that tomorrow at training, because again, that last update was 6 weeks ago,
Right.
And the first round is I think June 7th or 8th or something like that.
Yeah, it's going to
Or
be
the
a hot minute.
the next round that the Sounders play in.
Yeah.
I just it's like a great opportunity just from a physical, like the location when you're there. It's
fantastic.
The experience is super
Fantastic.
cool, and there are some logistics that still need to be worked through. I mean, if you're to tell me you're going to send 5 buses from Seattle down, and they're going to all roll up in the HOV lane, I don't know. You might make a dent at that point. You're going to send
That'd be
250 people down.
Yeah, concept idea.
But at that point, like, that changes the game. And my struggle is I'm not sure it's been thought about that way. I think it's just we're going to go to Tacoma.
Yeah.
So they're basically just, targeting the Tacoma Sounders.
Well, I think that's some of it, and I think there's obviously some benefits to playing on natural grass and those kind of things.
Right.
But I think it's a lot about the marketing aspect of it and trying
Yeah.
to expand their footprint in Tacoma.
Well-
but there are some other benefits for sure.
Well, and it's one of those things where you look at it, and if you want to look at just soccer ownership in general and attention span, like that's one of those things where a Sounders person goes down there and goes, "Oh, I had a really cool experience at Cheney. Maybe I'll go to a Reign match now."
Right.
You know, like there's more at play than just us being like, I don't feel like traveling, and I get it.
Yeah.
There's a lot in play.
They're still working on even expanding their presence in Tacoma and getting the fans out there for those
Right.
games. Because I was at the last couple and the attendance has been pretty spotty at best.
What do you think? How many?
Oh,
1,000?
officially, well, the numbers they've been spouting are around 3,000, but it's probably around
1,000.
half to a third of that.
Gotcha.
That's still
for those-
better than Chivas USA.
And a couple of MLS teams probably wouldn't be.
Like Chicago.
But yeah, so you're 100% right, and it's something they're still dealing with, I'm sure. It just hasn't, it's going to take some time for them to
Figure it
really figure out the marketing presence and get people out to games. And then there's obviously the unanswered question of when the new stadium is going to go up,
Right.
And where. It's supposed to go right next to Cheney,
What?
but I don't.
I think
don't
it
really-
has to be physically in that area, so Metro Parks
Can
and whatnot
control it, yeah.
has control of
I'm
that
not-
land.
I'm not sure I'm a fan of that location, but that's not my
Well,
decision. I don't live there.
I mean, if
so.
they're going to change the
I've
dynamic from
never
a
been there,
transit
so-
transport situation, then it is different.
Yeah.
But right now, you're like, gotta take a bus to a bus, even if you live in Tacoma.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's just difficult to get there.
Mm.
It's not much easier than Starfire is as far as transit options. It's probably worse, even for people who live down there.
And there's no more choo choo,
Yeah.
which is the saddest part of all of
Right.
it. There's wow.
Reliable dipping
were you
dots.
sent here by bread?
What?
No more dipping.
What is
No more
un- what-
reliable or
Hold on.
consistent
What the heck
dipping
are
dots.
unreliable dipping dots?
No, this is-
Oh.
Sometimes their dessert stand is open. It's not.
You know what? Maybe it's because they are the ice cream of the future, and we've changed the timeline, and maybe there aren't Dippin' Dots,
Oh.
but maybe the timeline has changed now.
Timeline.
Megan,
There's hills being-
birthday Megan is dying on this hill.
It's a dipping dots hill.
You chose Dippin' Dots at soccer.
It's her birthday.
It's
Yeah.
super on brand. This is like a really good segue moment. So it's 8:31 p.m. Pacific time. By the way, a team got relegated in the EPL, and it was like the second time, like pre the time change, because they changed their time later than we do here.
yeah, it's like a month later.
And it's like this is it the second time in the Premier League era? So since what, the early 90s, I guess. Second or third, it's a single digit number that someone has been officially relegated before the time change. And I listened to the talk sport, like the talk radio there, as my like overnight white noise, and they laugh their ass off about it
Wow, that's
Ouch.
forever.
Ouch. What was the team, you know?
Huddersfield.
Huddersfield Town.
No, poor guy.
It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And by okay, I mean it's not.
As long as
gonna be
West Ham
okay.
is not, I'm good.
Yeah.
Chicharito's out there scoring goals every once in a while.
Nah, they're fine.
He's playing better now that he's got a kid on the way.
He's scored
deal.
some disgusting goals.
Yeah. He saved them in a great comeback a couple weeks back.
So we could probably bridge to Sounders, have a interesting next
Yeah, 10 days.
week,
or so.
10 days. And then, honestly, another interesting 10 days immediately following. So, Salt Lake Saturday night. By the way, Saturday night soccer,
Yep.
bring it. Wednesday, we're not playing Colorado for the first time in this is the third year. on 4th of July week. But Wednesday at Colorado, 6 p.m. Pacific.
Yes.
No, we had at one point played them at 420.
420.
We had played them the 3rd or 4th of July away. So at Colorado next Wednesday, and then home again the following Saturday versus Toronto.
Which is going to cause us to
Javinko-less Toronto.
Yeah. But they seem to have fortified themselves.
They appear to have woken up
Yes.
slightly.
Where
Right
did he
at the
go?
ship.
Where's he at?
He's in Qatar, making $12 million a year.
Wow.
He was in the last year of his deal, and Toronto didn't want to pay him, obviously, because he's 30. He'll be 32, I think, at the time.
And still really good.
Yeah, it's still really good, but they're like, we're not paying you that much. And so they got this new guy in who decided to absolutely destroy NYCFC over the weekend. It was
Was that part of the 7-something score or no?
no, they won 4-0.
Oh.
Only 4-0.
Only for a minute.
But their new guy had a goal, 2 goals and an assist, I think. Wow. Including just a dirty chip. That was just
Playing as good as
absurd.
Vela is.
Like, it was one of those things where I looked at the score and was like, I need to look deeper into this.
I would
And then-
encourage anybody who
Yeah.
wants to take a look at the highlights because
It's
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't
disgusting.
Yeah,
Wow,
it-
okay.
yeah. And Altidore scored, and they look back. So
Okay.
But again, that's a couple of weeks out. Immediately, obviously, we got Salt Lake, who does not look very good.
We gotta take advantage.
Yeah, and they beat the
Go
Sounders
for
twice
the
last year
kill.
during the early Dyer days.
Yeah.
That should not happen again. Obviously, this coming weekend because
Man,
the
those-
Sounders should be pissed about their results, even though it wasn't horrible.
Yeah, yeah.
And RSL is going to be down one of their best players, and they're just a mess generally. And Ramondo is 117 years old, and he can't keep doing what he's been doing forever. And apparently, this is the year that
It's breaking down.
it's breaking down a little.
Yeah,
bit.
the second half of this
Beckerman's
month
still-
is going to be interesting for sure, man. Toronto and LAFC, they had a hell of a game.
Oof.
Yeah.
I mean,
Vela is having himself a
let's
a
be clear.
start.
The moment they made that roster pre-last season, you were like, that team's going to be good.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So on that note, there's a couple things to talk about. That Vela goal.
Oof.
Holy sh-
Like,
Do not ever
again,
let
the
him get on
camera
his left
angle is a
foot.
little
Yeah.
deceiving because the cameras are behind him to the
Yeah, so it
right.
makes it look like it
So the swing
goes
looks
around the
far
world.
worse.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, dude.
But
Yeah.
I'm looking and I get
Stella got a
I
groove
turned
back.
off all my MLS alerts like from the MLS stuff, but I get it from Deportes, and it's honestly the headlines are so much better. But it was basically like, holy shit, did you see this goal? Watch this goal, watch this goal. And then I did. And then what was it? Oh my god, it was yesterday, right? The
Yeah.
Galaxy?
Yeah, Galaxy, yeah.
The entire internet lost its shit over a non-goal. And I'm looking at Twitter and I'm like, this can't be that interesting. Whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then you go and watch our fine friend Zlatan. Shouldn't have
Portland.
even touched the ball. Like, I'm not good. I play soccer once or twice a week. If a forward on my team stuck his leg out and swung at that, I'd be like, what are you doing? Dude's like, oh, I got this. It's like a 30-yard cross-ish bomb pass. And he's like, yeah, I got this. Puts his leg up here and hits the post.
It was absurd.
And then
Nice.
the internet lost its shit
Yeah.
on a post. And it wasn't like they recovered and then scored on a rebound. No goal happened. And the internet's just like, yeah, we're going to lose our shit. And I'm like, but the Vela goal. And they're like, nope, Zlatan. It's cool. Whatever. And then there was the messy pseudo Panenka free kick thing
Oh, yeah.
this weekend. And that's when you
Everyone's
realize
doing Panenkas,
all of
apparently.
these players are just disgustingly talented
Yeah,
with
right.
like their left pinky toe and their right footed all the time.
Dude, that Rooney goal too. Don't forget the Rooney goal.
Dude,
that was ridiculous.
So that was a good one. It was like, I think they called it like El Crack on the app.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Crack.
wait, from Rooney?
Yeah, I know.
And again, I'm super happy for Orlando City to lose all possible things of all time.
God, that
As
was-
Brendan Vaughn, that's at BM Vaughn on Twitter, called them the San Jose Earthquakes of the East. And he means that in literally all
worst,
the
yeah.
possible ways you could think that he means that. But did you not see this? You have to see this. He's just like, oh, look, I'm just going to sort of chip you on a free kick. Oh, yeah, on purpose. Messi's like, I got this. I'm just going to slightly touch the ball. There's a defender on the line. He also heads the ball in. Like it should be illegal.
Kidding
Oh, yeah.
me.
Yeah. He kicked it off the
The
defender.
defender. Oh my god.
Look.
Oh my god.
Like, the best is that there's a guy in front of
Oh
the
my
Barca
God, dude.
fans who just puts his hands up on his own head. And then everyone else just
Dude,
loses their
I
shit.
might just go to Barcelona just to watch him one
But, like,
time in person.
he
dude.
should just be like, I'm out. Peace. I'm done.
That's crazy.
It
That guy's-
doesn't get any better than that.
And that's
Just
the
retire
fun
now.
part. I'm not going to pull this up on the screen, but why don't you just narrate what you're looking at right now?
The,
You heard about this, right?
the porn stash is full blast.
You
And
got to give the people a little more color. What you're looking at right now.
we're looking at the one and only. Oh my god, dude, put it back. Oh, Mark, dude, is this right now?
Oh no, this is from the 29th, so
I cannot
Friday
wait-
night.
Hold on, I need to go back and like let the world. know
Friday
about
night. Mark,
this. Oh my god.
sometimes producer of the Sonar feeds, Mark was presented with a official Tony Alfaro Chivas jersey,
What the fuck?
which he then proceeded to rock while drinking beer and Brian Schmetzer style sweatpants.
Living his best life.
Wow.
And the tweet quote is, drinking a Trash Panda IPA, rocking my Alfaro jersey and Schmetz sweats. Which is maybe the most on-brand thing Mark has ever
Ever
posted.
done.
And he's posted some on-brand things in
I
his
was there
life.
for the Speedo. I was there for the Speedo unveiling.
Like,
We have another goal by the Tacoma Defiance.
let's go.
Will Bruin in the 78th minute.
You guys thought you guys could get away that easy, huh?
wait, and I think we're back.